This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
Soon on the Patriots Prayer Network. Thank you all.
America's falling, they all say. Gather the faithful now and pray. The Patriots Prayer. The Patriots Prayer. All the wicks are trimmed, oil is filled to the brim. I have been changing somehow. I'm the radical now. America's falling, they all say. Gather the faithful now and pray. The Patriots Prayer.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Patriots Prayer Podcast. I am your host, Eddie Smith, and my co-host, my cohort, my buddy and pal here, the native patriot, Maurice. Welcome, brother. What's going on? How's everything going?
Well, I've been very, very busy, and
Yeah.
I've been trying to reevaluate what I promote on X. That's probably one of the big things, is that the daily rhetoric back and forth of what the Mockingbird media promotes drives a lot of the traffic on X, and I've been getting more and more frustrated by it. So I want to promote the things that I believe matter and the things that I believe will make a difference. So
Yeah.
yes, voting for Donald Trump, getting registered to vote, is one of the most important things that we can do, but it starts at home, and the responsibility to fix the country falls on us. McGroin Nation, thank you for rating the stream. Appreciate it. Glad to have you here.
So,
Really appreciate it, guys.
Maurice, your camera's pretty bad right now. I don't know if you got something going on in the background or you're running.
Am I blurry?
It's about the worst as I've ever seen it.
Okay.
So I don't know if you got something there or what, but your mic sounds amazing.
Okay.
Camera looks it's starting to clear up now a little bit. I don't know if you're adjusting something, but it's clearing up. But guys, while he's
Twitter
doing
opened.
that'll do it. Because you had to go back in time to even find Twitter. Right.
Oh yeah, I had X open. Okay, and so I say it often. I'm like Bigfoot. I'm blurry all the time.
So guys, listen, Michaela, first of all, who's with us today, and we're going to be addressing some. I don't even know how to just. Michaela shot me a video earlier today of this guy that she wanted to respond to, and we got the video queued up, ready to play this thing. And I went through it, right? So this guy who's on the video, I just wanted to shake the shit out of him, dude. I just, because that's all I can actually say online without getting in trouble. So I just wanted to shake him, like, really hard. And
it's understandable. I felt those same things, those instincts that you want to protect one of your own, especially because it wasn't the fact that he was attacking her on substance. It was the fact that he was slandering her character.
And diverting from the truth as well at the same time.
Well, and also bringing up semantic points. I mean, really
points.
semantic points.
Like, we're talking about who's going to be the president of the United States. He was mad over what color clothes that the lady was wearing and where she went to college and where, I mean, just the dumbest points that are not going to matter to anyone in the long run when it comes to who's running the damn country. So Michaela looks about set up. Michaela, give me a thumbs up when you want us to bring you up when you're set, and then we'll bring you up. I know she's trying to get set up down there, but I'm going to take a little listen to this clip. I want Michaela to respond to it, but I want these guys to kind of see who it is we're talking about, right? So, Michaela, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I don't know if she can hear me. So,
Just you can just roll the clip.
here, Michaela, can you hear me? Oh, she
she's
left for a
gone.
second. She'll come back. While she's doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip, guys. You got to see.
And Reese was on Washington Journal on C.
This guy on the left right here, with the baby hairs that he's just clinging onto for dear life, on top of his head that he doesn't want to let go of. This guy right here is a complete asshole. And I'm just starting the clip, Michaela. Welcome to the show, Michaela.
Hey, yeah, sorry, I lost sound for a second. I couldn't hear, so I had to refresh.
Okay. So we're looking at the Pink Pimp, the dude from Bebe's Kids, and I don't know what the hell this lady is right here.
The dude from Big Kids is crazy.
He
Crazy.
really is. He's clinging to them baby hairs for dear life. He done put gel in them. He's just hanging on. They just hanging on. So listen, I'm gonna play it because I want people to understand exactly the character of this guy. And this is the things that he cared about. He didn't say that Michaela lied on policy, on who would be, and none of the stuff that matters. Listen, you'll see.
Reese Colbert, and she was just knocking down, did a great job knocking down these folks' lives. So while she was on, y'all, they played this interview when this other black child, I think her name, what's her name, Michaela Montgomery? That her name? Okay. So she was the one who was with Trump at the Chick-fil-A in Atlanta. She's also the same one. She went on an Atlanta radio station lying about Trump, HBCUs, and all kind of stuff. And then I called out on Instagram. She was like, yeah, when you went off of me on my show, my parents didn't like it. Well, guess what? Your parents not about to like what I'm about to do to you right now. Now, we invited her on the show, but she ain't responded. Now, she was talking big on Instagram, talking about how she wanted to come on. My producer reached out. She ain't hit us back. But I saw this. So this was like a month ago.
Is that lie number one?
I didn't know who his producer was, so I didn't see a message from him, and I didn't see like an email or an Instagram DM from him, so
Right.
I didn't see it. So when I did, his producer did actually DM me the night before, but again, like, if I sent you her page, you would have never guessed that was his producer.
But let's
so.
just put this to bed. If this man wants to meet on neutral ground and have this out, you're 100% with that.
I would do it, absolutely.
100%. And this guy, he's got his whole team with him, so I'm throwing my hat in the
if
ring.
you're trying to sit there with a headpiece in your ear and you got 4 different people talking to you, and it's just me by myself.
I
That's
know
not
you're not alone.
Like, a real debater. So really, we could stand right next to each other and have nothing but paper next to each other. If we're really
this is what I'm proposing. Maurice and I'm sure will be glad to stand right beside you and have this conversation with these people. Because I just I heard so many things in his delivery and the things that he was saying that just, he made them bigger than they actually were in the scheme of things. He tried to make them mean more than what they actually meant. We're talking about the leader of the free world, right? I would say, policy. Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, but the things that should matter should not be the things that he was highlighting. And I'll play some more for you guys to understand what I'm talking about.
Go on Washington Journal. And if y'all want to hear an onslaught of lies in just
First of all, onslaught is not a word.
2 minutes and 31 seconds, listen to this nonsense, and I'm gonna stop it.
Okay, I do want to say really quick before he goes off that the things that he just understand exactly what he's attacking, because Michaela did an hour on C-SPAN, or it was just about an hour, right?
I think it was an hour and 20 minutes that she did on there, a little over an hour.
And the portion that they chose, so just keep that in mind as this clip rolls, and you understand exactly what they're attacking and why they went after this narrative. We'll explain that after the clip plays.
Right. So I
said, play it, but
if I'm understanding you correctly, it's like she has a whole hour and 20 minutes worth of things that he said, but the only thing that he could try to combat was what color she wore and what college she went to and whether or not she stood by him. That's a very good point. That's an extreme.
And not only that, he used it to slander her character and say that she is a liar in general. So he's using this clip to discredit the entire over an hour of content that Michaela had.
Let Michaela touch on that. So Michaela, what Maurice just brought up was an excellent point. You talked on there for, I think, was an hour and 19 minutes, if I remember correctly, on C-SPAN. And so out of that hour and 19 minutes or so that you were on there, there's a ton of subjects brought up. You were attacked by a bunch of weirdos. All these things went on during this interview. And this was all this guy could pull out of that interview. That's essentially what we're highlighting.
Yeah, so him also acting as if I was lying when he took what I said completely out of context. Because anytime I've ever talked about Kamala Harris not acknowledging the very people that she leaned on to get elected, I'm mentioning these national stages like Inauguration Day. I'm mentioning these national stages like when the State of the Union address is being delivered. And of course, Kamala Harris is there taking pictures. I'm referencing the times in which the entire world is looking at her, not just the Black community, because that's the time to highlight your sorority. That's the time to highlight your HBCU. On Inauguration Day, on any of the State of the Union addresses, she is not acknowledging any of these groups that she's leaning on to get elected. These are the same people that she ignites the most when she's running in campaign season. Yet for whatever reason, when it's time to deliver something, whenever she visits any other community, she comes with tangibles. Yet for whatever reason, whenever shows up to Black folks in our shit, it's, hey, y'all better be glad I showed up. So it's like, it's disrespectful to act like, because let's even act like her not wearing the colors doesn't matter, or people wouldn't be able to see the pin. At the end of the day, if Black people saw her with an AKA pin or an HU pin, they would have zoomed in and that would have been everybody's profile picture for the next 3 months. So to act like seeing something like that wouldn't have been monumental, or at least wouldn't have been a symbolic acknowledgement, a thank you to the people who really rallied her into office. That's what I was pointing out in my interview. And for Roland Martin to call that a lie as if it's not true is ridiculous, because then the evidence that he followed up with was listing the private meeting that she had with the TSU, or AKA president at the time. What came of this meeting? I didn't see any national changes in the organization, and not that I'm a member, but I read the news, so I didn't see anything where the AKAs have unleashed a new, initiative that everybody needs to support. Like, I haven't seen that. So for all we know, that meeting was just two aunties having a good time. To act like that was an acknowledgement and that was something that the entire Black community benefited from is disrespectful to the Black community as a whole, because why are you presenting it to them like them taking a picture together meant that Black people received some sort of impact from that? Then moving forward, he brings up that she spoke at the TSU graduation and that she spoke at the Bull. Again, these are one examples per year that he can bring up in which Kamala Harris showed up to the Black community. And given, of course, there might have been a few other micro events in which she showed up, here and there, because I know for a fact she came to Spelman and talk about abortion a couple times, like damn near every year.
Well, but I would like to also posit the fact that showing up for her college is a microcosm. It is a tiny amount of the Black community in general. If she wants to actually reach out to Black America, her elitist college is not the place. That is not representative of Black America. Colleges have been corrupt for a very long time, and the simple fact that she believes that she can represent Black America as referencing her college once a year or going back there once a year that is elitist in a lot of ways, because I know for a fact that as a Native American, I didn't get the chance to go to college, and how many Black Americans have that feeling that they are being represented by her going back and being on or I guess
Showing up to
talking
football
about
games
the
or
football
speaking at
game. Yeah.
graduations. Like,
How many
at the
Black
end of the
Americans
day,
are
like
feel represented?
exactly. And again, not even just represented, but how many of them felt heard? Because even if we're like, all right, maybe you don't mention us on all these national stages and acknowledge the fact that you're Black and AKA an HBCU graduate, this is not the things that we see you acknowledging when the entire world is watching. You only say something about it or acknowledge it or hint to it when we are watching. That is not significant in comparison to what you could be doing, which is elevating us and our
Mm,
causes by bringing
mm.
this to the attention of people who might have never heard of these things, who may have been misinformed on certain things, who might lack knowledge in certain areas. Like, this is your time to inform the people on what's going on with us. And you haven't been doing that. And then he mentions, these sporting events that she showed up to. Oh, she showed up to the Celebration Bowl. I mean, the governor showed up to that too. In
Mm.
every state, when there's a large championship game, you can expect all of your top elected officials to be at said game. But when you went to the game, what did the players leave with? What did the students leave with? What did the coaches leave with? What did the staff leave with? Did you give any tangibles to these HBCUs, or did you just say, hey, y'all, be happy that I'm here? Because again, when you visited the Asian community, you gave them a bill. When you visited the border, you gave them a bill. And they're not even citizens. Yet, for whatever reason, Black people never got a bill. She stated on camera that she's never going to give us a bill, has no intentions on writing us a bill. And yet, Black people are supposed to be the first people in line to cast a vote for her. That's ridiculous. You do not have a plan for us. And for Roland Martin to get up here and act like me making it clear that when the world is watching, Kamala Harris does not act Black. Kamala Harris does not claim to be Black. Kamala Harris is not, paying homage to her Blackness. She's not doing that when the world is watching, Roland Martin. So you can't say that I was lying. And additionally, again, when I'm talking about things like Inauguration Day, when I'm talking about things like, State of the Union addresses, when I'm talking about things like press conferences in other countries or whatever, there was nothing symbolic of any of these organizations or, social groups. And this was your time to shout us out, because the cameras were going to be flashing, the internet was going to be reporting, everybody was going to see it. And yet you don't acknowledge us, but you always talk about your Indian mother every
Yeah.
chance you get.
Pandering, just pandering. So let's continue here to see what he says, because I'm really interested to see when he gets into the finer points of what he's talking about, how we actually deal with that. Let's take a listen.
This is just sheer lunacy. Press play.
A few days before that, he spoke to the National Association of Black Journalists, and he talked about Vice President Harris's racial identity, that she had become Black. A lot of critics said that hurt him with Black voters. What was your reaction?
I don't know why it would hurt him with Black voters, because it seems like Black voters are offended by everything except the conditions in which their reality is set. So while we might be offended that a rich white man is questioning the nationality of a quote unquote Black woman, that Black woman does not claim to be Black outside of campaign season. So we saw her be Black as she was vying to be VP. The hot sauce on the pork chops, the marching with the band, all of a sudden she's paying attention to her AKA sorority sisters. But then once sworn in office, you didn't see the acknowledgement of her sorority or her HBCU. She didn't wear pink, she didn't wear green, she didn't wear anything HU. She also did not acknowledge the Black community.
Oh, freeze right there. You know what? Well, I need some Vaseline. I need some Vaseline right now. This is the moment where you put some Vaseline and then you just put it on your, like when you get ready to run. Matter of fact, I could do battle right now without any Vaseline, because y'all just heard a straight up liar. Michaela Montgomery, you are I see why you support Donald Trump, because both of y'all are some lying ass people. Y'all just heard her say, when she became president, she didn't wear pink and green. She didn't do nothing. Is that so? Huh. Give me a second. Let me go ahead and just go ahead and refute that massive lie. And see, the white woman on C-SPAN, and see, this is my problem when you have these folk on these shows. They are unprepared for the lies. Henry, go to my iPad. Vice President Harris speaks about gun safety, abortion at Orlando Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority event. What is that date? What is that date line right there? Oops, that's July 14th, 2022.
So
again, you guys, out of the hour and 20 minutes that she spent on C-SPAN, they did an entire show, a 30-minute show on these semantic points. Like, they're not bringing up what's affecting Black Americans today. They're not bringing up how Kamala Harris is going to help the Black American youth, the small business owned, or the small businesses owned by Black Americans. He didn't bring up any of that because he doesn't have anything. No, what he decided to bring up were these incredible, like, he could point to like 4 instances that, hey, at this specific time where it wasn't really reported in the news because she had just gone once a year, this and okay, yes, it was technically reported in the news, but this isn't something that she's like doing for the Black community. How does this in any way, shape, or form help Black America? I want to know that, Michaela. Hey, so his rebuttal here is to show that, no, yes, indeed, she actually did speak about abortion and whatever else he had said, once a
So
year.
here's what I want to highlight, because this is literally ridiculous. So again, when I'm talking about her not acknowledging being Black, her being an AKA, her being an HBCU grad, we're talking about national stages. We're talking about bringing new attention, new sponsorships, new love to HBCUs. That is what she failed to do because she only showed up to closed events like this, in which, okay, so we think about Black people are only 14% of the population. Let's say half of those Black people go to college. Half of those Black people will go to an HBCU. We're now at 2.5% of the population. So then let's say a third of those people actually pledge a sorority. We're looking at 1% of the population, less than 1% of the population are you speaking to. Less than 1% of the population are you saying, hey, y'all, I'm here. Now, how does you speaking to this less than 1% translate to the other 99% of people that are out here? Did they also hear your message? Did Black people then see any legislation in regards to gun safety, abortion, or anything like that that benefited Black people? Because taking guns away from the private homes of Black people does not help Black people. Telling women to go and get abortions does not help Black people. So not only were you not speaking at these events and bringing tangibles that actually helped Black people, you were speaking on policies that harm Black people, and then you were speaking to less than 1% of Black people.
And Michaela, you are saying that
community never heard this speech and therefore still knows nothing about AKAs. The Hispanic community never heard this speech and therefore still knows nothing about AKAs. So if she showed up to this AKA event and she had on her pin, and she had on her pin, and she had on her scarf, then what in the hell stopped her from doing that whenever she was in any other room? That is the argument being made here. And of course, that's what Roland Martin failed to acknowledge.
Well, let me ask you 2 things, right? 2 things. One, Dragon McGroin in the chat message say hello to you. So I want to acknowledge the hello. The hey. McGroin crowd, they're going to be huge. You're going to get to know them quite well. But here's the next thing. You started off and early on in the clip that Roland was referencing, you said things that Black people should be embarrassed about. Now, they're going to use that like he did. They're going to use that to attack you. I want you to elaborate what that actually means, because I know what you're talking about. I know
folks will be offended if I say that Black schools are failing. But the reality is that black schools are failing. Folks will be upset if I say that our music is not a good representation of us. But you go and you listen to this drill music, you go and you listen to this twerk music, and none of that is stuff that we want our kids listening to.
Okay.
I'll say that, hey, abortion doesn't help us, right? Abortion isn't something that we need to champion ourselves for. We should be offended at the fact that every time they speak about abortion, they only say that black women will die if they give birth. Why are they only trying to scare you into not giving birth?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Y'all are offended by everything except the reality in which your conditions are set. The black community is not safe. That's a reality. But for whatever reason, if I get up on TV and I say that it's not safe and democratic policies do not help keep it safe, now all of a sudden I'm a coon. But go somewhere like Chicago, where it's been run for 90 years. There is not one black person that doesn't associate Chicago with violence. You think about Baltimore, which has also been in Democratic leadership, under Democratic leadership for years. Nothing but violence. City just abandoned, nothing but abandoned buildings. You go to California, where they have successfully defunded the police, and you see nothing but the loss of business and development because the crime rate is so high. You see a spike in home invasions. You're seeing a spike in car theft. You're seeing a spike in homicides. You're seeing a spike in rape. Why? Because people know that it's going to be at least 2 hours before some sort of law enforcement shows up to the crime scene. Democratic policies and the things that they're pushing and the things that they've been allowing in the black community have done nothing but hurt the black community. Like I've been saying on every show and every news station, there's no reason why the hood has been the hood since your grandma was a kid, and now it's a hood now that we have children. That's disgusting. Yet you go to these Republican-led areas and they're seeing growth. They're seeing development. Their sidewalks are clean. And yes, they might have their problems, because, drug addicts and homeless people and, mentally ill folks are everywhere. However, their communities look nothing like ours. You see a lot of mothers who live in Atlanta taking their kids to school in Gwinnett County simply because the schools are better, their communities are safer, so their commute is safer, and things are cleaner, so they can trust that their kids can walk with their friends to the McDonald's down the street after school. Nobody is allowing their child to do that downtown, west side, south side, and the east side of Atlanta. So to act like democratic policies currently in place, to act like the things that Kamala Harris is touting that are currently in place in certain cities in which black people make up a majority of the population, to act like these policies are not harmful to them, to act like we need to vote to continue to fund these policies, to act like we need to vote to continue to keep the status quo where it is really what's harming the black community. That's the real coonery in the situation. And I really wish that more black people would wake up and stop letting somebody with 40 million followers tell them how to think. Because I can guarantee when that man gets off TV, he appreciates the tax breaks that he gets when he's making all this money.
Did you just say that's the real coonery?
Roland Martin's kids go to private school.
I'm telling you, I would love to see her co-host a thing with her and Jerome. Would be awesome.
Oh man,
on a podcast together. Listen, it's almost like two things, right? One, I'm gonna ask you a question. How hard is it to advocate for someone knowing you are advocating because you want the best for them and being fought by that same community as they're acquiescing to the people that are harming them, almost like relenting to the point where you're laying your own head on a guillotine and you don't even realize you're doing it. Meanwhile,
so this is something that'll resonate with the black community and something I can say and y'all can't. But I wholeheartedly understand why black people get money and leave niggas alone. Because that's exactly where we are. Some people literally just cannot be saved. Some folks, no matter what numbers you put in front of them, some folks, no matter how many times you mention how groceries have gone up, some folks, how you mention, hey, you don't want to have to turn your guns in. Some folks who you mention, hey, even if you want access to abortion, because even Trump came out and said, add some weeks to these heartbeat bills, and that he believes in the exceptions. Therefore, where do you draw the line at abortion? Like, y'all are allowing for babies to be murdered literally right at the time of birth or immediately afterwards. At what point in time is abortion no longer a clump of tissues and now it's a baby? And who gets to decide what that is? Because the one thing that people, never think about is you'll call it a clump of tissues or just, a clump of cells,
A
if
way to
you
numb
get
your
an
conscience.
abortion.
It's a way to numb your conscience, just so you don't have to say out loud, I just took a life.
No, but even just look at it like this. A woman will refer to the fetus as a clump of cells when she gets an abortion, but she would never call it a clump of cells to a woman who just went through a miscarriage.
Right.
So
right.
clearly, where are we drawing the line between when a baby is a baby and when it's not? Because not every woman is seeking an abortion. And if a woman is looking forward to being a mother and she loses that baby, whether it be 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or 10 weeks in, she feels like she just lost a child. She never will feel like she just lost a clump of cells. She's never going to think to herself, oh, well, I can just try again. A lot of women mourn and suffer a lot of trauma from miscarriages. And it doesn't matter how early or how late they were in their pregnancy. At the end of the day, if they wanted that child, then they're going to mourn said child. So just because you have a demographic of people who don't want children or don't want the child that, they created in a situation they felt like they shouldn't have been in the first place, then it's like, why would you be upset that now personal responsibility has entered the chat? As a single mother, I don't want to have another kid and do this shit by myself. So I can attest to how easy it is to not get pregnant. It's like you have women sitting online all day swearing that there's no good men out there. But if that's the case, then how the hell is everybody in need of an abortion? And it's like, I also feel, like I can say that because as a single mother, if I complain about being a single mother, oh, this is so hard. Oh, I can't believe he doesn't help. People will always tell me, oh, well, you knew he wasn't shit before you got pregnant.
Right.
Yet now, if abortion isn't as accessible and a woman is complaining that, she had a wild night and now she's pregnant and she can't obtain an abortion. And I'll be like, well, girl, you knew you was engaging in risky behavior before you got pregnant. Now, all of a sudden, I'm wrong.
Oh,
It's the same thing. It's the same thing as drunk driving, right? Like when you decide that you can go drinking and driving, you understand that you are taking part in an activity that can result in your death. It can result in somebody else's death. Like you can go to jail or prison for a very, very long time, even though you were having a good time, right? And this is one of those things where our society now thinks that they can avoid the consequences of their actions because abortion is available, even though if we were, as a moral and good society, to recognize human rights when they begin, even at the earliest stages of development that we can recognize, the zinc spark during fertilization is the only point where we can say that's when human life starts, and then every single stage after that point is a stage that we have all shared. It is a stage that each and every one of us, all of you watching, me, Eddie, Michaela, all of us have gone through those stages to get to this point. If we are going to be a good and moral society, we have to start recognizing when human rights begin and who grants them. It's not the mother. It is not the doctors. It is God.
It's also a thing where, we also place all the blame on the woman. And it's like, if women stopped having sex with men that they knew were deadbeat dads, if guys stopped hanging out with the guys that they know are deadbeat dads, stop playing video games with the guys that they know are deadbeat dads, if we really dried deadbeat dads of all sense of fun, we would probably have less deadbeat dads.
Well, I'll tell you what, Michaela, I actually push for this quite often, and I don't put a lot of the blame on the mothers. I actually believe that the mothers are the victims. They are tricked into believing that their baby is not actually alive, or they're tricked into believing that this is an okay option, that it is a morally good option to try and avoid the consequences of your actions because of society, that the mothers are victims in this, not as much as the baby, but they are victims. And I believe that it is the responsibility of men to lead the women and to stand up and marry the mothers. I believe that they need to be present fathers. And I mean, this again, this all comes back to the destruction of the nuclear family, the removal of God. It is an underlying problem to almost all of the issues that we face today. It's just the fact that men don't marry the mothers, and our society champions this promiscuous identity. But we should get back to this clip because we're kind of moving on a little bit from it. We're talking about deep things, and he's going to go back to talking about nonsense.
But before we get out of this podcast today, I do want to address the school shooting in your area before we get off of here.
Yes.
But let's get back to this.
That wasn't campaign season. Okay. I'm not done. Let's see here. Now, she don't acknowledge she AKA. Really? Because I was there in Dallas when she spoke to the AKAs. By the way, Michaela, you clearly ain't Greek. What you don't understand is that, guess what? Greeks have their conventions every 2 years. Yeah. So they met in 2022, and then they met again in 2024. This right here is her wearing pink at the AK convention this year in
at
2024.
The AKA convention.
So again, your lie doesn't stand. I ain't done. Let me go ahead.
You want to address it real quick before we go past it?
She wore pink at the AKA event. Again, speaking to less than 1% of the Black population, not elevating the AKA platform in any way. The same thing I said on stage with Trump. The fight is nothing if we only talk about it amongst ourselves. So what in the hell is your platform or whatever your plan was or whatever it is you talked about at this event if all you did was talk about it amongst other people just like you?
Gotcha. All right.
Among other alumni and people currently going to that
you can go to, let's see.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Just among other alumni. And I mean, this is everybody already enrolled in that. She's not, so you're right, Michaela, she's not elevating it in any way, shape, or form. She is literally she's preaching to the choir at this point. And somehow that's supposed to be a big gotcha moment from this guy to you, is saying that, she did go talk amongst themselves at this one point, and the media did point a camera, even though it wasn't like, this wasn't popular news. This wasn't spread out all over the media.
No tangibles were delivered. No tangibles were delivered. But hey, at least she showed up. At least she wore pink in a room full of other women who wear pink. Wear pink in a room full of other folks who want to know why you chose to wear pink. Because that would have been the first thing they said. Oh, wow, Vice President Harris popping out in a pink pantsuit today. What inspired this? Shout outs to my sorority. Throw your pinky up. It never happened.
That's a great point.
All right, ready?
Yep.
So again, your lie doesn't stand. I ain't done. Let me go ahead and go here. Matter of fact, Henry, you can go to, let's see, Kamala Harris. And now I'll go to the iPad. Tennessee State. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and go right here. Let's see here. Boom. Vice President Kamala Harris gives a commencement speech at Tennessee State. Okay, Michaela, why is that important? Because the black woman who was the president of Tennessee State at the time was Dr. Glenda Glover. Who was Dr. Glenda Glover when she gave this speech? She was an international president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So she was actually there with her sorority sister. But Michaela, I'm not done refuting your silly ass lies. Let's go ahead and go back. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see. Let's see.
Did you notice that the whole time that he was making fun of the way you talk? Like, this guy, obviously, he's not confident in his own ability to portray whatever he's trying to portray here, because there were so many times where he would mock you in the way that you speak, and this is a pattern that I've definitely noticed from lefties, is they'll try to get you on a technicality, and then they'll make fun of you for doing it. So why doesn't he just address the issue and then debunk it in his own words, even though, again, out of the 80 minutes that you spoke, these are the things he chose to debunk on his entire show, to slander your character, call you a liar probably 30 separate times at least. Like, this is the substance that he chose to attack, and in a very rude way.
None of this, her wearing pink, none of this, her being an AKA, was visible until she was what? Campaigning. Notice how she doesn't acknowledge being an AKA publicly unless she's campaigning. Again, these are all events in which the entire world was not watching. These are all events in which the entire world was not looking into the fact that, oh, there she is with the president of the AKA sorority as well. Like, was that ever mentioned on CNN? Was that headline news? Were people talking about how historic this was? Like, no. So when we're talking about impact and not just symbolic appearances, what impact came from all of these appearances? He can't say anything other than, oh, she was at the Boule and it's every 2 years. So that's why she only showed up that one time. All right. But when she was not at the Boule, what stopped her from wearing pink? When she was not at the Boule, what stopped her from wearing a pin? When she was not at the Boule, what stopped her from shouting out Howard? Absolutely nothing. And the only time we heard that is when she was campaigning. The only time she acted like that or acknowledged these people outside of the rooms that weren't full of these people is when she was campaigning. But of course, Roland Martin made sure to skip over that part. That's the technicality he would have been caught on. So he lucky I didn't get on.
Yeah. VP Harris, Michaela, since you a liar like Trump, and Divine.
Why do they talk like this? That's one of the most irritating things to me is just the fact that, like, he can't just address you as like as an equal, right? He has to slander you. He has to put you down each and every time he brings you up. Since you're a liar like Trump, it's like, why doesn't he just address you as, like, I don't understand. It's rude.
It's just like reading a book and how you like kind of have to build up momentum around things, you know? So he knows in an overall sense, this entire first 20 minutes of this, I'm exposing all these lies, is just a complete waste of time. Because again, there were 80 minutes of interview in which I talked about legitimate policy issues. And he's spending all of this time talking about how Kamala showed up in a black room and talked to black people about black issues. Not when she went to the rooms full of white people and she wore pink and she talked about black issues. That's what I was talking about. That's what I'm calling out. But of course, Roland Martin would never acknowledge that. And he focused so much on saying, oh, she a liar because look, she did acknowledge her sorority. Oh, she a liar because look, she did acknowledge her sorority. Sweetheart, in the context of what I was talking about, maybe she showed up to these events, but how did she elevate the sorority by doing so? What came from her giving these speeches? And of course, the answer is nothing, which is why he has to go so hard and she's lying, because look at all these examples of her here and her here and her here. Because it'll help distract people from the fact that, oh, well, even though she might have been talking about elevating these people and bringing attention to these people and putting this stuff on a world stage, which actually would have helped black people, clearly she's lying because technically Kamala Harris did show up. Technically, Kamala Harris did acknowledge these people. She acknowledged those people in front of those people. She did not acknowledge those people in front of everybody else.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
That's how pandering. That's literally how pandering works.
Up. Let's go right here. We got all these stories right here. What the Divine Nine is doing, and how they lining up. If I click images, oh my goodness. Let's go to the LA Sentinel. Vice President Kamala Harris discussing voting right with her collegiate family, the Divine Nine. Let's go to the story of this black newspaper. Oh my God, what is the dateline on that story? It's October 7th, 2021. That means that Vice President Kamala Harris was in the White House for only 9 months. They came in January, and the meeting was in October. So 9, 10 months. That's October 7th, 2021. My God. Let's look at, oh my God, my goodness. Here's a photo of
Black America, do you feel represented by looking at this picture?
Where was our bill?
Yeah, do you feel like Kamala Harris represents you when she is in a room like this with all of the top elite in her, I forget what this is called, but do you feel represented by this image?
Maurice, I'm going to tell you right now, black people don't care about that. What was y'all talking about? And what did we get from it?
The content.
That's it here. You can say that, oh, Kamala Harris was in the White House with these people. What did black people benefit from that? Man, what the hell was y'all talking about? For all I know, y'all was in there playing spades. For all I know, y'all was in there cooking collard greens. She was showing you how good her greens is. For all we know, y'all was in there watching the Real Housewives of Atlanta. There's no telling what happened during this meeting other than this photo of her being there.
Yeah. Even though the little people of Atlanta is way better.
Anyway.
That's just me.
Anyway. It's like, sir, you're deliberately trying to mislead people into believing that because you have these photos of these people here, that is going to make up for the lack of action we've seen in the black community on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration. It does not.
What happened to people actually realizing and all saying before she became the candidate, she was the most unpopular vice president in history. She was the most do-nothing vice president in history. She has no platform to run on. I mean, people can say that as a euphemism or whatnot, but it's literal.
You can go on her website right now, and there's still not a policy plan. There's no platform. There's no agenda. There's no nothing. There's a bio on her. There's a bio on Tim, and there's a donate button. There is no, oh, hey, here's what we're running on. Oh, hey, here's our plan to fix the economy. Here's our plan to bring the prices of groceries down. Here's what we're going to do about these foreign threats. Like, there's none of that. You go to Trump, and Trump has it right there, bullet points, 20 of them. Hey, y'all, these my priorities. Like,
they don't use that, though. They don't use that, though. They go to the Heritage Foundation, and they say, look, this is Trump's policies. Don't go to his website because that'll actually show you his policies. But if you go to this other website by the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, that's really what his policies are.
They don't even do that. They rewrote Project 2025 and reposted what they wrote on a website called Democracy Forward. They don't even put the real Project 2025 up. They put their version of it. But the thing is, this lady is the first. Look, I don't like Obama, but he does have some accomplishments. I have to admit, he shrunk a couple of departments within the government when he was there. There were things that he did I could point. Overall, his administration was a failure, one of the biggest ever. Even Clinton has some accomplishment that I can point to and say, hey, he did this. As much as I don't like him, I can point. This lady has nothing. She's never done as a DA, anywhere in her career. I can't name a single accomplishment. Can anyone else? I mean, is it just me? I don't want to seem biased, but I really have never heard anyone say she's the first one ever to do this or she did that. Nothing. I don't have one. You know what's
funny is they actually brought up later in this show how Kamala Harris was a great prosecutor. And the really interesting part about that is Tulsi Gabbard dismantled her record as a prosecutor in the way that she kept innocent people behind bars by withholding exonerating evidence. And I mean, just the fact that in 2020, when she ran for president, during the George Floyd riots, more Americans died during those riots than unarmed black Americans who were killed by police in the year prior. Because in 2019, it was like 16 unarmed black men were killed. And then in 2020, during the riots, 26 Americans were killed during those riots. And she decided it was a good idea to bail those rioters out. She promoted a group and a fund saying that it needs to be funded, or a fundraiser rather, out on Twitter. At the time it was Twitter, it wasn't X, to help bail these rioters out. So what has she done for the black community?
Well, I can tell you this. I can tell you this. This is what her administration that she was a part of presided over. For the first time in history, this happened. In the last year in the United States of America, over 40% of all the paper money that has ever been printed has been printed in the last 12 months. Do you know how dangerous that is?
That is extremely dangerous.
I'm talking about in all history, right? All history. 40% of all the money in the United States that has ever been printed has been printed in the last 12 months. That right there should be enough to scare anyone that's sane out of voting for this woman. Because that's how they're propping. Imagine if they wouldn't have done that. Let's talk about the reverse. If you didn't do that, you wouldn't have a falsely propped up economy to make it look like people can what do they call it? Deflation would actually be occurring. You wouldn't have the ability for people to buy the things in the store, so the things that would be produced would be rotting on the shelves. Or inflation by over printing money to the degree that the money's worth nothing because our GDP. It's either way. This administration is going to go down as probably the worst in history.
I got to be honest here. I understand how much you want to respond to this guy, and I understand why you should, but the entire rest of this clip is him repeating the same things and virtually saying that he is dismantling all of your lies and that he's putting you in your place by showing that Kamala Harris went and rubbed elbows with a couple of the top tier people at those organizations. And somehow that's refuting your lies and your propaganda. And they eventually say, I don't know if you have the clip, Eddie, of them saying that she needs to be institutionalized and things like that. I don't know if you have that clip.
Well, it's all within this particular thing, wherever it is.
Oh,
it's in
okay.
here. But there are some other things in there that he says that he doesn't realize, where he shoots himself in the foot. I listened to the whole thing. And he does shoot himself in the foot.
Yeah.
But before we continue, though, I don't want to do our guys bad. We get into these thick, heavy, hot and heated conversations about these pertinent things, and we forget about Smoking Gun Coffee all the time. And I don't want to forget about our guys over at Smoking Gun Coffee. So let's take a pause for the calls. We'll be right back.
Born in the coastal plains of South Texas, Smoking Gun Coffee is founded by combat veterans that know exactly what a cup of coffee needs to taste like. Run by father and son, each coffee bean is perfected, roasted at 500 degrees, and cooled with a Gulf Coast breeze. Smoking Gun Coffee hand makes and bags each ounce of coffee for maximum customer satisfaction. With every purchase, 10% goes back to organizations that help veterans and local communities. That's Texas made, one bag at a time. To find out more, go to www.smokingguncoffee.com.
So, guys, go to smokingguncoffee.com. There you can see the coffee club. Go into that coffee club. You can get you some Patriots Prayer Dark Roast. Here's the coffee right here. Private labeled. They did an amazing job on this. They also made a special little coffee cup that you can buy with their logo on it as well. These guys are amazing. The money that you spend with them goes back to veterans causes, and they've been with us in Maurice before me since day one. And we love these guys, and we really want to support them and see them do well, and they want to see us do well, and they want to do what's right for the country. So do right by them and go get you some Smoking Gun Coffee at smokingguncoffee.com. You can also go to thepatriotsprayer.com, go to our sponsors link, and find it right there.
You know, I've spoken with them quite a bit and worked with them for a while, and it's one of those companies. It's a father and son shop down in Texas, and I believe that one of the ways to help fix our country is to support companies that align with your values. And small businesses, father and son shop down in Texas, Patriots supporting Patriots. It's a beautiful thing. And we've turned down some other coffee offers, even though it would have been more money.
And
but
yeah,
these
principle over,
Yeah,
God
these-
over money,
these
as
guys-
the way to put it.
These guys really align with our values, and I support them as much as they support us. So, God
And
bless
it's
you
not
guys.
even that the
Smoke
other
gun
people
coffee.
didn't align so much with their values. It's just that Smoking Gun Coffee is, they were there first, and loyalty means something.
Yep,
It means a lot. So, yeah, I mean, these guys have been there. There's just, I was waiting for her to come back. I was waiting. I was like, okay.
My phone died.
I figured something went on. So we're going to go ahead and jump right back into this. And I'm hoping to at least get to a point where there's a specific spot, and I don't want to air it out because I know you both, when you hear it, you're going to see it. You're going to both pounce at the same time. Here we go.
Vice President Kamala Harris talking to Dr. Glenda Glover. Oh my God, who is Glenda Glover? She's the president of Tennessee State, and at the time in the picture was the president of Alpha Kappa Alpha. Ain't that interesting? Let's see here. Vice President Kamala Harris, she ain't sitting here, she don't rep her university. She don't rep. Really?
Okay, Michaela. Why is he black? And then when he tries to talk like you, he has to throw a little bit extra on the black sense. Why is he doing that?
He's got that sass, man.
What a dumbass this guy is, dude.
Damn, hold on. Let's see here. Who played last year in the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta? Y'all remember? Who was in the game last year? Florida A&M. And who?
Bro, nobody remembers, man. Nobody.
No.
There's a very
Because it's
very
not
specific-
the Super Bowl. It's not the Rose Bowl. It's not, like, I hate to say it, but HBCU sports are not on the same level as, like, D1 sports. So nobody was let me not say nobody because, I love my HBCUs. But in comparison to the amount of people watching, like, the Super Bowl or, like, whatever that game is that, UGA wins every year, this doesn't equate to that.
Right.
And again, you showing up did what? Like, how is that you acknowledging these folks by just saying, hey, acknowledgement is, hey, I understand your plight. So I drafted this bill and I brought it here for you guys to look over before I bring it, over to this committee or da-da-da-da. That's you showing up and acknowledging your community. You simply going and enjoying a football game is not you acknowledging your community.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you know?
When you were in Atlanta, after you went to the game, how many black-owned restaurants did you go eat at?
Mm-hmm.
How many black-owned stores did you go shop at? How many black neighborhoods did you even ride down? 0. But you acknowledged your community.
Here's the one that got me the most, the one that pissed me off the most about her, guys, is when the Tennessee 3 incident happened after the shooting that took place in Nashville with them 3 innocent little 8-year-old girls and the 3 teachers or staff members that were murdered by that trans killer, the female that thought she was a male. I forget what her name was. I don't even want to say it even if I knew it really. But she went down to Nashville because Jordan Pearson, who was one of the Tennessee 3 who was expelled from Congress for breaking into session with a megaphone and protesters after he had just been elected, and he should have been sitting in chambers and not outside of it with a megaphone and protesters. She went down there to give a whole speech about black race baiting, but didn't pay no respect at all to the parents that lost their children. She didn't go to the school that just got shot up by this person. They blocked the manifesto from coming out through the Department of Justice. Like this, I mean, all that speaks volumes, and still being blocked. They still haven't released it. It's nuts that this is they don't talk about these things. And we as Americans, we have very short memories. 5-6 months goes by. People forget about these things I just talked about. And we really need to keep like a running list to remind ourselves when it's time to vote, all of the dumb shit that she either has done or has not done, to remind us why in the hell she is the absolute most wrong person in a world to be hired for the job she's applying for. But let's jump back into it.
HU. If I recall correctly, matter of fact, I be damned. There's actual video of the vice president. There's actual video of the vice president at the game. In fact, she actually went into the booth and talked at the game. Go ahead.
He's only finding this out as he's seeing it. You notice that, right?
So that also should speak to her lack of commitment to the Black community, because you wouldn't have to Google it.
Yeah,
you could be like, oh no, I remember Kamala Harris at the da-da-da, and we all remember seeing Kamala Harris at the da-da-da. No, you've never seen Kamala Harris. Like you said, Maurice, she's always in the room of elites.
Yeah.
Regular people are not in the studio suites that she's in watching these, basically Super Bowl level games for collegiate sports. Average people are not in those suites. You are not showing up to the community. You are not acknowledging the community, because the majority of the Black community is not in those suites, is not at the Bull, is not graduating from TSU. Like, girl, you don't show up.
It's pretty simple, and this is the majority of this guy's whole tirade is just like, well, look, she hobnobbed with all of the president of the place and went and decided to commentate for a couple minutes so that way she could get the footage. But again, she's not actually helping anybody out by doing this. She's not actually.
Did you visit either of those schools that won or the one that lost? Like, did you go?
Bud is asking if she's ever called any of the Gold Star families yet. That's a good question. I wonder. I really do.
So.
I wonder.
They do their best not to acknowledge them. That way there's no sort of controversy and the media can ignore it. So what they do is they just pretend it never happened, and they pretend that they don't exist.
What do these type of events mean to you personally?
Well, I mean, it's a lived experience. I, grew up through college, going to our games, and then go back for every year for many years to homecoming, and to be able to celebrate the team as an extension of celebrating the school and all HBCUs. I mean, it's very much a part of just a cultural appreciation and
we good.
And really lifting up.
We good. So, oh my goodness. So we sitting here. Oh, she ain't doing this. She ain't doing. Really? That's interesting. Matter of fact, I'm sitting here going through some photos right here in 2021, and I'm trying to see, because I did take some photos of her. This was a game on September 18th, 2021, when Howard played Hampton. Guess who talked? You know what? Let me just go in. Because see, again.
If he don't know either until he looks it up. Guess who? Then he reads it, because he don't know either. He has no idea until he looks.
See, Michaela, your ass went on C-SPAN just straight up lying. And see, this is what happens when you lie. Okay, let's see. VP Harris and...
Look at him holding you accountable for all those crazy lies.
HU game, Audi field. I guess I remember that because I was actually at the game. I was actually there.
I call bullshit, because I think that if he was at the game and he could really prove that, he'd be showing you selfies of some shit right now of him sitting at the game. And he hasn't done that yet. This is the second time he said it. And most of the things he's talking about, he's looking up as he's talking about it. So he's not talking about it from a lived experience, to quote him earlier, her earlier. He's quoting what he's reading online. And he had to dig for it at that.
We actually covered it. So she was there. That's September 2021. So How, Michaela, can your silly ass go on TV and say, she doesn't claim being an AKA, and she doesn't claim Howard University, when you are a flat out liar? And then you say,
hey, didn't
I said she doesn't acknowledge. Acknowledge and claim are two very different things. Also notice the manipulative language being used here to try and make people. That's why he kept saying, look at all these pictures, look at all these examples, lie, 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 lie. And then again, inserting manipulative language to make it seem like I said something that I didn't. Acknowledging your university in a room full of people who don't know much about it is way different than you, claiming these folks when you're in a room full of these folks. But I digress.
Isn't it funny how he
I
kind
know.
of used?
I see her getting madder and madder. I know you probably. I can't wait. We will reach out. I promise you. I'll reach out to his team, and I will try to set up a mutually agreeable time where we can have that open debate. Hopefully, they agree to it. I've never ever seen. I've never had a leftist actually ever agree to an open debate. So it'd be something that I would welcome as well. And I would just, I would be there to back you up, because I see he's got his whole team and he doesn't seem to know much outside of what he can Google. So I'd welcome. Michaela, you would take him. You'd take him.
I know that.
I completely got faith in the fact that you take him.
she only does this during election season. She did in 2021. She did in 2022. She did in 2023. She did in 2024. So how does she only do it during election season? So right there, we ain't even 30 seconds into the video and I already busted your ass on multiple lies. Press play.
Community while in office. We saw bills signed for Asians. We saw bills passed for migrants, which primarily affect the Hispanic community. We saw bills passed for literally everyone but Black people. So for her,
Here we go. Free right there. Here her lying ass go. She went to the y'all. You know what? Matter of fact, Keenan didn't get it to me, but Michaela, I should award you a Trump University degree of BS and bullshit communications.
Go ahead, Michaela. I'm going to give you a chance to respond.
I mean, what am I supposed to? There was nothing to respond to. Just
so he's talking about the Asian bills. But
I think he's about to follow up with what he claims is, something that was done for us. But the Stop Asian Hate bill does not include us. It specifically outlines that, no hate speech or, violent acts should be committed towards Asian people. The immigration bill has nothing to do with us because you don't see a ton of Black people hopping the border and receiving all of these benefits. You don't see, Black people don't make up a majority of the LGBTQIA population. However, the LGBTQIA people received a number of protections and bills during their administration. So for him to act like any of these things were solely for Black people, maybe Black people may be included in some groups because there are some Black illegal immigrants and there are some Black LGBTQIA people, but to act like these bills were exclusive for us like the Platinum Plan was, exclusive for us like Opportunity Zones were, exclusive for us. To act like these shared bills are something we should be proud of, to act like we were acknowledged specifically in any of these bills, to purposely mislead people who will not go and research and actually read through these bills to look for this specific language, it only proves who's the actual paid plant is.
Well, I would go a step further and say any bill, doesn't matter what kind of bill, whatever, any bill that is specifically written for a group, like let's say Asians, right? The Asian bill, Asian hate bill. So what it does is it gives the federal government license to go after me or give me a heavier sentence if I get into a fight with somebody and they just so happen to be Asian, because of the way they could basically say, well, the reason he did that, they can put whatever intentions they think I had. Just like if I'm at a restaurant and this dude tries to go into the bathroom with my wife, daughter, or whatever, and that's never going to happen. I promise you I won't let that happen. but they would say that I would get hit with a hate crime. And that to me tells me that you're not equal. If you are truly equal to me, then me whooping his ass would be the same as me whooping your ass for the same reason. If you are truly equal, you get equal treatment, not special treatment.
And these special protections, again, still don't apply to black people, because if a black person tried to follow you and your white wife and white child into anywhere and you beat his ass, nobody would question it. It's an unfortunate reality, but that's the truth. So to act like any of these protections were benefiting black people, when in reality, black people received no protections, no tangibles, no bills, no funding.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Of course he's not going to acknowledge that, but it's amazing to me. I woke up to a slew of messages. Most of them were actually people who, had just found me because of him and were actually happy to find somebody like me. Other people were, of course, some of his minions who were like, he ended you, he roasted you, he brought receipts. And I'm like, what receipts? Because I'm asking for tangibles, and at no point in time did he deliver any tangibles. But
I listened to your whole C-SPAN interview.
Fun of you. He does slander your character, make fun of you, and mock you.
Your mic's way down, Maurice. I don't know what's going on, bud.
I don't know either. Can you hear me now?
There you go. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. He does slander you, mock you, and make fun of you very well. But as far as the substance of your 80 minutes in which you were speaking about, the entire 30-minute time that he spent deciding to defame your character, it wasn't on substance. It was on semantics, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. If you really listed out all of the subject matter in your C-SPAN interview, and topically, each topic, he completely went past all of the actual policy stuff that you talked about, everything pertinent, and talked about the most unnecessary shit that he could possibly talk about through the whole interview. And
he doesn't address he doesn't address what's affecting the black Americans or what Kamala Harris is actually fighting for. He says, no, she went and hobnobbed with a couple of elites a couple times, and therefore you're a liar and blah, blah, blah. Like, he doesn't actually point to anything of substance. So, I mean, I watched this once today, and I'm just watching it through again. I'm getting more irritated by the way he talks about you, because this isn't something that a man should be doing in the way, especially with a popular show like his. I don't know this guy. I don't know his style, so maybe this is what he does to everybody. But it's just rude. It's low, and this is it's typical.
You ever get into an argument with somebody, and the way they try to end the argument is, that's why it's like that, and they say it, and the way they say it makes it sound, but they could be loud and wrong at the same time. Mm-hmm. That's this dude.
Like this guy here.
That's this dude right here. Just he thinks because of the way he frames his sentences and the elocution, with the way he says it with the tone, automatically makes him right by the way he delivers it. But that only works on stupid people. So I really does hope he accepts. I'm gonna post this from our YouTube. I'm gonna post this link from this podcast underneath his podcast on YouTube, and hope to God he takes the bait.
A Trump university degree of BS and bullshit communications. Because you have actually earned it. Your BS and bullshit communications. Again, she repeated the Tyrese lie. Asians got a bill. No, they didn't. You clearly ain't read the damn law. I have. You have it. It applies to everybody. Everybody else, the migrants got something. Black folks again. This is the same woman who went on an Atlanta radio station touting Trump and HBCUs, which is a lie.
Wait.
$16 billion. HBCU.
There you go.
Wait. I want everybody to notice how he mentioned the migrant issue and so quickly deflected into the HBCU issue. I want you to notice that he clearly acknowledged that he heard me talk about the migrant issue and how it disproportionately is unfair to black people like my brother who are a felon, to foster children or former foster children like myself who have aged out. I didn't age out, but I was a former foster child. It's not fair to people who have given their limbs fighting for the freedoms of this country, the same freedoms these folks feel are in danger. You can't give those people this same stimulus package? Notice how he skipped over that, because of course there's nothing that he could say to that. But now he's going to jump into this HBCU part, and this is the part that, yeah, I wanted to clear up real nice.
But I wanted to look up something that he said real quick. While he was saying that the Asian hate bill was not just written toward for Asians, right?
Oh yeah, he said it was for everybody, which is a lie.
He said it was for everybody, and I just went on AI and I typed in that exact question. And no, it's not. It's literally written here
specifically for Asians.
Specifically for Asians. Anti-Asian violence. I mean, it literally all the language in the legislation.
But I'm the liar, Eddie. But I'm the liar. A quick Google search. But I'm the liar. Me and Tyrese both lied. And don't forget to add, Eddie, that the Asian community received $26 billion from the Biden-Harris administration for whatever the hell they got it for.
Under what? What was the context? What was the You don't know the context for the amount of money they received?
Mm-mm.
One thing I would like to point out as well is that a lot of the times when somebody from the left, instead of them granting you something like, you know, maybe you were wrong in the specific, because he calls you a liar a tons of times just because he can point out like one instance where Kamala Harris was doing this one thing. So it's not that, like, he doesn't point out that you were technically wrong in this point. He points out that you're a bad person because you don't see it in his view. Like he's just, the only way for him to make this work is to paint you in as bad of a light as possible and use these small semantic side points that he can technically get you, like on a technicality, right? He'll use those to slander your entire 80 minutes. So
and try to use a broad brush to say everything else was a lie because this little stupid shit was. She said she wore white shoes; they were black. Everything else she said was a lie.
Exactly.
Have received under Biden-Harris. $16 billion. Y'all, she even's gonna lie in the next clip about HBCU money. So we could talk about HBCU money. We could talk about 3 consecutive years under Biden-Harris. 45% of the black businesses that went out of business during COVID under Trump were brought back. We could talk about 3 consecutive years of growth among black businesses through the Small Business Administration. Girl, what the hell are you talking about?
Stop there.
More
because
lies.
First of all, using post-COVID data as if all businesses that were closed down during COVID didn't open back up after COVID, or at least majority of businesses that closed after COVID opened up after COVID. COVID started under Trump and ended under Biden. All of those quarantine requirements or whatever, all of those restrictions were in place as soon as the Biden-Harris administration got in. And as soon as they started lifting them up, we saw business growth. So to even present that statistic as if it has anything to do with Trump and not everything to do with Democratic pressure to shut everything down, disgusting. Then let's also talk again about how actually I forgot where I was going with that. So no, just the fact that he just keeps deflecting. All of these, these black businesses closed under Trump, and we saw all of this black growth under Biden-Harris. Those things happened because of COVID.
Right.
Businesses closed because of Democratic pressure under COVID.
Exactly.
Under Republicans, those same black businesses that you're saying closed under Trump actually would have stayed open had Democrats listened to Republican leadership and allowed businesses to stay open. So to blame Trump for something the Democrats are solely responsible for just goes to prove to you how far he's willing to go to mislead his viewers.
Yeah. And just because of him, I'm going to stop eating red M&Ms. That's it. I'm not eating no more red M&Ms.
I am over it. Oh, so the last thing, because I'm not even gonna lie, y'all, I'm getting tired. Y'all know I'm 3 hours ahead of y'all. So the HBCU part, and he mentions that the Biden Harris administration gave $16 billion to HBCUs, and notice how he did mention that it was for HBCUs and HSIs, right? But it was also for HBCUs, HSIs, MSIs, and then I forget what you call Native American colleges, but it's like NACCA or something like that. So
Isn't that
$16 billion now
No.
split between 4 organizations, pretty much. Think of them as organizations. So now you can't even say that $16 billion went to HBCUs, because $16 billion went to HBCUs, Hispanic serving institutions, minority serving institutions, and Native American serving institutions. And now I want to bring it back to what an MSI is, and that's a minority serving institution, correct? If you have over a certain population, over a certain percentage of a certain type of people, then you can classify your school as an MSI. So HBCUs, as you know, are predominantly Black. HSIs, Hispanic serving institutions, are predominantly Hispanic. Minority serving institutions are white women. Schools that have mostly white women enrolled. And then, of course, you have your Native American institutions. So while you're talking about this $16 billion, right, as if it was exclusively for us, please do not forget to mention that schools only have to meet a certain quota of white women to also be eligible for said money, because white women are classified as minorities.
Now, real quick. We all know that the SCOTUS just recently ruled on the fact that they can no longer use any other criteria outside of a merit for college and admissions. So if they're doing what you're saying they're doing, they're literally breaking federal law.
And then, so guess what? If the next administration turns over, that they know this. And so if Trump goes ahead and says, hey, this is wrong, and he repeals said administration, they're going to say that Trump cut HBCU funding. When in all actuality, these things that you guys are trying to tout as being good for the Black community, number one, we're not getting all the benefits that they're listing. Number two, we're still fighting for resources from other groups of people as if we can't get our own bill. Black people were not fighting for any of that $26 billion that were given to the Asians. Black people cannot fight for any of the things being given to the Asians. But for whatever reason, Black people have to fight for the resources that apparently, allegedly, were dedicated just for us. Now, if you go and you look at the Department of Education and you look at the breakdown of this $16 billion, right, you'll see how much money was actually given to HBCUs, HSIs. It doesn't break down the number for the MSIs or the Native American colleges, or at least I did not find it. However, when you look at how much money was actually allocated to the institution as a whole, that total comes out to close to $3 billion. Now, if you look at $3 billion across about 120 plus HBCUs, right, this is what their yearly funding is compared to President Trump giving them $220 million every year for the next 100 years.
Fire. Absolute
but
fire.
But hey, he ended me, you guys. Hey, he gave me so many. He came with so many receipts. He needed 4 people. Do you see this? He needed 3 other people. 3 other people to back him up for my one self. And mind you, again, my interview was done impromptu live on television. This is a prepared screening. This is a prepared and edited recording that he clearly went ahead and prepared for, studied for, was like, this is exactly what I'm going to say. I didn't even have that opportunity. So if I can speak like that off the dome, then imagine what in the world I would do to this man if I actually were able to participate in a prepared debate. I will never, ever in life shy away from a debate, because that's what I do. What I do is debate by myself while you have people in your ear telling you what to say. If we're going to have electronics, then it's my phone and it's your phone. If we're going to have, just pen and paper, then that's just what it is. Because if you really want to debate, we can really debate off the flow and go contention for contention. And only a true debater would understand what I just said.
This is what I'm going to do. the case you just made right now. I got you full screen. I'm gonna clip this. I'm gonna send it to him. Tell him something. Challenge him right now.
Challenge him.
Yeah, say
No,
what you say.
the only challenge I have for him is that, again, I'm not going to come on your show where you have a setup where, you know, you're going to utilize all of your resources against me and I only have myself. So I would only debate this man on a neutral platform. I'm only going to debate you somewhere where I know you don't have a headset in your ear and people are telling you what to say. I don't need your producers shooting you information as we're talking. It's going to be a fair debate. We're going to debate the facts that we know. We will talk about our personal experiences because I would love to hear how your Black life differs so much from my Black life that my perspective on things and how I was raised must be wrong in comparison to whatever it is that you're spewing to your viewers. I am not going to set myself up to come somewhere where you will intentionally try to sabotage me, but I have no problem meeting you on any neutral debate stage, whether that be in person, whether that be online, whether it be whatever. I'll be in DC next week. The Patriots Prayer is right here. The Beat ATL is in Atlanta. Literally, Roland Martin. The one thing about you is you needed 3 other people, plus however many others were in your ear, to face off against me. One person. So if you're ready to actually face off against me again, you saw how I am when I'm unprepared. Just imagine what I'd do to you if I was prepared. And seeing what you would like to talk about, I'd be more than prepared to talk to you. If you can't tell by way of this video. But if you were to find, you know, a host station like this one or like any of the other ones I mentioned, in which they would go ahead and supply us with 5 questions, and we could be given 24 to 48 hours to prepare on said questions. And then we both came to the stage with only resources that were agreed upon. So maybe you can bring your iPad and I can bring mine. Maybe you can bring your phone and I can bring mine. Maybe we're only bringing pens and paper and some notes that we took and printed offline. Either way, if it's not a fair stage, I'm not coming. I'm an actual debater, Roland Martin, and I've never lost. I don't lose when it comes to one-on-one. Let me not say never. Let me not say never, but I
will
don't
tell you,
lose when it
Michaela,
comes to
I will tell you, I get the feeling that this video was put out there to feel you out, because once they realize that you have depth and substance to what you're saying, you're not going to be invited on that show. Because the way that you're addressing him right now, I believe that he will probably not respond in the way that we think he will. I believe that once they actually figure out that, okay, she's got more to her than just this fiery outside that we can kind of pick on and make fun of behind her back, they won't have you on. I don't believe it, because based on his criticism of the 80 minutes that their producers felt to attack you on, it was semantics, no substance, and that's the way that they like to keep it. That's the drama that they want. They want to be able to make fun of you for a couple technicalities that they can point out in an impromptu 80-minute interview that you did. That's what they have. You have substance, you have class, you got sass. That's why I love you. So
he had a whole podcast of clickbait, and that was pretty much it. It was a lot of like leading up to something that never happened.
He got receipts though, so yeah. Again,
from McDonald's,
all he's gonna do really is probably sell this, you know, lie to his followers that I'm scared to come on his show. And again, if he can agree to film a special show in which him and I go stand outside of the studio, it's whatever. But like, to act like I'm afraid when I'm clearly not going to set myself up to walk into a room that's unfairly stacked the odds against me. But this wouldn't necessarily be considered a neutral platform. So that's why I'm like, baby, the floor is open. The floor is open. But walking into your home where people are already in your ear, no. And I don't have nobody in mind, no. Now, if we go at headpiece for headpiece, we could maybe talk about it. We can maybe talk about it. If I can have my AirPods in and my friends could be telling me, I can have everybody on a conference call.
She did this in Chicago.
What you just said. Nah, make sure you bring up this bill, Senate Bill 4207-16. Like,
she did this in Chicago, Maury.
That's what's going on in his ear, though, because he wouldn't be able to find that information that fast. He wouldn't be able to reference certain things so fast if there wasn't a team of people working behind the scenes feeding it to him himself. So you're not going to have this unfair advantage and expect me to walk into a stage and then you tell to your fans that you destroyed me. No, baby. Let's really debate. And
Or you shouldn't act
actually
like a 3,000-page bill actually helps the black community in a way, because when they reference these certain bills, it's just this giant thing that they slap a label on and say, yeah, they did this for the black community. Bullshit. Bullshit.
like, oh, black people benefited from this. And it's like, no, we didn't. We would be telling her like that we benefited. We would be saying, hey, keep this up. We would be saying, hey, thank you for this. Even though it wasn't Trump who gave people the stimulus checks, it's simply the fact that people associate him with that because he made such a big deal out of it. If Kamala Harris was actually doing work in the community, she could have made a big deal out of it, and people would remember her for such in the same way that people remember Trump for these stimmies.
And I mean, but listen, we all can find things with our leaders that we like that we disagree with. I disagreed with the stimulus checks. I still do for the same reason, because of what came out of it. But the thing is I think he operated during COVID using the information he had in front of him. Now, retrospectively, you can say some of it was wrong, but we had never been through anything like that before. And I think that he did what he could do. So when he shut down the airport,
he was listening to the experts.
Yeah. Well,
the same experts who then admitted to lying to him.
Yeah.
The same experts who we then found out were making money from this shit, and that's why they were lying to him. Dr. Fauci was the trusted senior advisor to inform him on what we should be doing in response to this pandemic. And Dr. Fauci is the one who came and said, 6 feet. Dr. Fauci came and told us to wear masks. Dr. Fauci came and told us to get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shots. That was Dr. Fauci, and Trump did his job as president and listened to the expert in the field. So to act like Trump's response was wrong and it wasn't literally all on Dr. Fauci is nuts.
Yeah, if Fauci said in the beginning, masks don't work, then masks do work, then wear 2 masks, all those other things, and his emails fly in the face of every damn thing that he said. And we come to find out later on, he was working with the CIA. And don't forget, I couldn't get him to come on the show, but I did talk to Andrew Huff, the guy who actually blew the whistle on Fauci and EcoHealth Alliance about the lab leak. I talked to him directly. Now I'm gonna tell you a bit. This guy, he's like probably most extremely smart people. He's extremely eccentric and almost like, wow, this guy's wild. But he knew what he was talking about, and he was the guy who wrote the book, and he was the guy who blew the whistle. Now, before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you real quick, because everybody's talking about this, and it happened in your city, in your state. 14-year-old goes and shoots up the school, and supposedly, from what I'm reading here, they phoned about 5, 6 schools ahead of time and told them they were going to do it before they did it. Then they did it. What the hell?
I mean, I unfortunately have been working all day, so I saw that, 14 people were shot. I believe 4 were killed in said shooting. It happened about an hour outside of Atlanta. So RIP to them. Don't call me a conspiracy theorist, but one of the things that immediately stuck out to me was Kamala Harris is clearly losing Georgia, and now all we're going to be talking about is gun control.
And she's also in charge of that.
This is again not to disrespect anything or anyone's life that was lost today or anything like that. However, what will be disrespectful is seeing how Kamala Harris and Tim Walz use the deaths of these people for political gain. Because the first thing they're going to say is guns are a problem, da 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 da. As somebody who, has a child, I would have appreciated it. I would feel safer in an instance like this, knowing that every teacher in the school is armed, rather than sending my child to school and hoping that someone that is armed doesn't enter said school. I feel like teachers should have the opportunity to carry guns in their desk, because it makes sense. Like it sucks, but it makes sense. At the end of the day, a mandatory buyback program would only have certain people turning in their guns, super strict law abiding citizens. People who truly believe in personal protection are not going to be turning in their weapons. I can guarantee you this 14-year-old did not go buy that weapon himself. It probably came from inside the home, in which case a parent who wants to protect their family and would keep their gun, that child would still have access to said gun. If the mandatory buy, so that just goes to show that mandatory buyback is not going to work. It's
No.
already instituted in Chicago, and we see mass shootings in Chicago literally every single weekend. So acting like taking guns away is what's going to solve this problem. I think if there was a deterrent factor that existed in schools, perhaps that would solve said problem. I don't
Now-
know if a mass shooter, because the guy was found, they got him alive. He's alive and he's in custody. Now, if that little boy wasn't on a suicide mission, I don't think he would have gone through with it. Because if we knew that all of our teachers and staff were armed, then as soon as a shot rang off or somebody saw something, then he knew that, dang, they're going to get me in the leg, they're going to get me in the side, or they might go straight for the headshot to avoid me from hurting everybody in this school. So I really, really am going to hate to see again how these deaths are, manipulated by the Harris Waltz campaign, and they're going to try to trick people into believing that guns are this problem, because a buyback program isn't something that a majority of people want. But when a news story like this, hits everyone's TV, it's easy to sell people more so on this idea, because right now everybody is mourning for the loss that, people suffered today. Children died today. Our educators were killed today. And now an entire school full of children, staff, teachers alike will never be the same. And again, like, instead of promoting safety, instead of promoting protection, we're going to promote to put ourselves in an even weaker and more vulnerable state and allow for more things like this to happen.
So before we get out, okay, that is exactly, I think, the perspective of not just you, myself, Maurice, but most of the people watching. And just to show, how much that Tim Walz is not liked, even in his own circles. This is his family supporting Trump. This is a picture of Tim Walz's family.
I didn't know if it was real or not. So
it's them. It's them. It's them. And
Trump retweeted this.
It's them.
Waltz,
this is
Tim
awesome.
Waltz said that his family is his entire world, and it's funny that most of his entire world is voting for Trump.
They know him better than we do. That's all I can say.
They don't know what's to come, so we should probably listen to the people closest.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, guys, if you haven't already looked, go back and look. We released the second episode of Conserve the Culture earlier today. You guys want to go catch that? Michaela commandeered a barbershop and started asking questions about all the hard issues. And I was yelling at the computer because there was like so many things I wanted to say during some of the Second Amendment speak. You had the one guy said he admitted that he was going to vote for Harris, and then talked about all the regulations he wanted in place of the. And I just thought to myself, you're missing the point of America. You're completely missing the point. We're a free country, and you want all these. You want the people who we're going to protect ourselves from to make all the rules and have all the guns. Then what are you going to do when they come after you? And I would think that in a black community, he would feel this way already. But it seems like something has happened in the political world where all the people that used to fight the system are the system now. And they don't realize they just been tricked. Hold up.
They've done a really good job at, misleading people and sending them somewhere, because even if you want regulations and things like that, like you said, as a black man in the black community, and he's from Atlanta, then you know that a lot of these assault weapons aren't obtained legally by the people who use them. At least not.
But yeah,
we don't
have to go down that whole road.
People to abide by said regulations. Again, in Chicago and New York, it's illegal to even have a gun. Yet these kids who are killing each other somehow keep getting them. So to think that bans or regulations or anything like that, are going to work, all they're going to do is put them in place. And when they don't work, which they know they won't work, that's when the mandatory buyback will come. And then that's when we'll allow law-abiding citizens, to now fall victim to criminals who were already hell-bent in taking from people instead of earning it themselves. Once we do that, we're now in a complete state of anarchy because you only have criminals who have weapons. You've defunded the police and people can't protect themselves. Now you can introduce martial law and the New World Order. But don't call me a conspiracy theorist.
Conspiracy theorist.
Michaela,
not a conspiracy theorist.
Michaela, I got to tell you, this is one of the reasons why I respect you. You got a lot of layers to you. Unlike, I forgot his name already. That guy.
Rolling in the flour, because that's the only way you can find a wet spot on that fat bastard.
All right. So unlike, I haven't heard of him until today, but
I gotta go.
That's why he's scared of you. That's why they went after some BS semantics. So Michaela, great job. I look forward to seeing what's going to happen if he's even going to respond.
Thank you. You guys, make sure you hit up my Instagram. Instagram is where I'm the most active. I don't see literally anything else. Okay, I'm an auntie. I don't know the Facebooks. I don't know the Twitters, the X.
And we're getting ready to launch Michaela's.
My name's the same on everything though. On Instagram, TikTok, X. I'm Miss Kayla Baby. MISSKAYLAABABII. You can find me on everything under that name.
And we're getting ready to launch Michaela's YouTube channel too. So look out for that.
Real soon. So I can do stupid shit like that and sit up and just talk about BS. I'm gonna start telling people the sky is pink.
You can already have that. We're
and
on.
If you don't
YouTube
see
right
the
now.
sky is pink, then I want to put Vaseline on my face and fight you. Because what you mean you don't have my eyes? That's exactly what he sounded like. But hey, I gotta go to bed, y'all. I got a baby to take to school in the morning.
Guys, as usual, the silent majority, you need to stop being silent and stand your ground. We'll see you next time on the Patriots Prayer, guys. Have a good night.
This is the Patriots Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriots Prayer.
Soon on the Patriots Prayer Network. Thank you all.